my father was getting ready to graduate from high school. Some of his friends and he decided they would drive to California. At the time, they lived in Long Island, New York. Every chance my dad had, he would go surfing. The main reason they would be going to California was because there was a huge swell off the coast. It started out as 15 guys would be going on the trip. They would leave the morning after graduation and they would be meeting up at one of the guys' house. My dad would be driving with his good buddy Kevin, who had a pink Volkswagen van. Some of the other guys would be driving their own cars, but when my dad went to Kevin's house, no one was there except Kevin. It turned out the only ones going to California would be my dad and Kevin. They had their surfboards on the roof, a mattress in the back of the van, a full tank of gas, and more open road than the eye could see. Neither of them cared that were the only ones going, they were just excited they would be going. The only thing they would be stopping for would be food and gas. Since they had a mattress in the back, one of them would be able to sleep while the other drove. Along the way, they met some pretty crazy people. Some of them were also headed to California to catch the swell. They drove for a week straight and made it to California. Kevin had an uncle who lived close to the beach, so that's where they would be staying. When they got there, it was too late to go surfing and they were too tired, so they would head out first thing in the morning. Morning finally came, and they got in the van with their surfboards still on the roof and drove to the beach. The beach was completely deserted except for the few other surfers. They paddled out to sea, and the first wave they caught was a monster 40-footer. All day long they were catching waves that size. All summer they surfed all day long. Finally it was time for my dad to go home, but Kevin had decided to stay in California and find a job. My dad had no money for a plane ticket, so he was going to have to find another way home. My dad saw some people who he had met on the beach during the summer, and they too were leaving the next day. The only problem was they lived in Arizona, so my dad decided to catch a ride with them and somehow make it back home. When he got to Arizona, he met some more people at a truck stop who were headed to Kansas for a wedding and offered to take him along. When he got to Kansas, he met a truck driver who was headed to Arkansas, but then going to Ohio and offered to give him a ride. Finally, he met someone who was headed back to New York, and from there he was able to use the last bit of his money to buy a bus ticket back to his hometown. On the way to California, Dad rode in a little pink van, but hitchhiked the whole way home. Kevin finally came back to New York and is still living in the same house he grew up in. He no longer has the pink van, but brought back the surfboard, and to this day still has my dad's surfboard. It is being used as a table in Kevin's living room, which I saw when I was there the summer of 2005.